our friend from ESPN joining us, all camera ready, Brian Windhorst. How are you, Brian? Good to see you, man.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to rush you, Rich. Whatever you need.
Brian, you're not rushing me. I'm jamming you up. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? I'm just jamming you up, like all Knicks fans do when they see you, Brian. You know what I mean?
I live an existence where I can be in a hotel room in Oklahoma City and yet have absolutely negative free time. So that's how I roll.
Okay. All right. Just want to make you're not Netflixing. You're doing your job, man.
No, I promise.
I got it.
Promise.
Your phone must be crazy busy and ringing and what have you. So, what's your sense of the Pacers-Knicks series and why it is currently 3-1, Brian?
Well, it's 3-1 because the Knicks allowed the Pacers to take game one from them. I don't want to necessarily just say they blew it because the Pacers were and are a great team, but. You can survive a game where Tyrese Halliburton is awesome or whoever you're playing. You can survive a game if you don't hand one away. In a series that's close, you just can't. I know this is sort of obvious analysis. In a series that's tight, you can't hand a game away. And if the Knicks had won game one, which they should have, this is 2-2, and the Knicks are going home with home court advantage, and they're in a much better position. And if this feels like you've heard this before, I was saying this exact same thing to Cavs fans the last round because the Cavs totally botched / let the Pacers steal game two in that series from them. And then when they got their noses smashed in game four in Indiana, they went home down 3-1 like the Knicks are instead of it being 2-2, which it should be. The difference between these two teams is not that great. There's some issues that the Knicks are facing and having difficulty overcoming, but this is not a wide gap. And so that's why, if you're a Knicks fan, you're probably pretty frustrated. And if you're a Pacers fan, you're feeling pretty proud.
Brian Windhorst here on the Rich Eisen Show. Our radio audience has just rejoined us. So what are the Pacers doing that have caused the Knicks fits and Tom Thibodeau to stare at the ceiling over the next night to try and save his season, Brian?
They're playing so fast, Rich. They're playing so fast. This is what they do. This is their way they're designed. They're designed to wear you out over the course of a game, over the course of a series. There was if you watched the game last night, there was this huddle in the second half. I'm pretty sure my memory serves where they're playing the audio of Tibbs. And I'm not sure how previous it was to the actual when they played it, because sometimes they have to okay that stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but Tibbs is really challenging his players to he's like sprint, run back, get back, run with them. And you look at Mikal Bridges and he's panting. And Karl Towns is like, toweling off, like they're tired. And that's what they do. They're running, number one. Number two, they're attacking Brunson and Karl Towns on defense. And I don't want to make it seem like this is a revolutionary concept. Every team goes after those guys. And by the way, they win many games because Brunson and Towns are awesome offensively and they crush. And it's a proposition that the Knicks are ready to sign up for. And they both made All-NBA. I do not want to make this sound like the Pacers just unearthed this concept, but against the Pacers, the Knicks are having problems handling it. They're having trouble overcoming that side. In last night's game, when Halliburton had the ball, 25 times they set a screen to take advantage to get Brunson on him. 25 times, and a lot of those times Brunson didn't even get in position. Halliburton just ran right past him. And so you're wondering, well, how is Halliburton kicking the ball to these wide open shooters? You say, why are these guys wide open? They're wide open because the guys are running to the rim to try to get in Halliburton's way because he's zoomed past Brunson on a switch or on a pick and roll. And again, this is not an insult to Jalen. This is not, but this is what they're attacking. So in this series, when Karl Towns and Jalen Brunson are on the court together, the Knicks have been outscored by 24 points. A two-man lineup does not make or break a team. There's other lineups where I could find where it's very positive, but your two best players are getting, and then last night it was only -4, Rich. It wasn't like it was a glaring hole, but they didn't lose by 30 last night. They lost by 9. They gave up 130 points, and Halliburton was awesome. But the margins against the Pacers are very thin. And, you're basically in a situation where Halliburton's scoring 32, generating 38 more points off assists. That's awesome. and Brunson's scoring 31 and generating, I don't know what his number, he's generating something less than that off assists. So there's your difference right there. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to play the Pacers. They're a really good team.
So how do the Knicks win 3 in a row?
Well, first off, they've got to do better at the point of attack. Just, you don't watch the film. Just trust me. Halliburton is getting right past the screen and into attack mode like that. Super duper fast. Absolutely not acceptable. So they just got to do a better job of that. They don't have to shut him down. You're not holding him to 3 points. They need to do a better job point of attack. The second thing they need to do, and I know this sounds like basic stuff your 8th grade CYO coach would tell you, don't turn the ball over. The turnovers are crushing. It's like, lifeblood to the Pacers. Josh Hart had 5 turnovers last night, for example. You just can't afford a non-ball handler like Josh Hart to have 5 turnovers. Don't turn the ball over. Keep the turnovers down, fight a little bit more on defense, and all of a sudden the margins look a lot different. And again, Rich, if they take care of game 1, it's 2-2. This is not some 3-0 series where it's been outscored by 75 points. The margin is not that great. The Knicks can overcome it. The Knicks can win game 5 and they can get it back to Indiana, but they're going to have to clean it up. Their margin for error is very thin.
Brian Windhorst here on the Rich Eisen Show from Oklahoma City. And so how do the Timberwolves win 3 in a row, Brian?
It's almost the exact same advice. Actually, I felt kind of the same about the Wolves and the Knicks in the last 2 days. I don't think the Knicks played poorly last night. I know that you can highlight individual moments. Like I see people like criticizing Mikal Bridges. Yeah, there were moments where he got lost defensively. He also made 4 out of 5 threes. OG Anunoby had 22. Towns has had some really good moments in the series. Brunson had 31. The Wolves the other night scored 126 points, shot 51% from the field and 43% from 3-point range. In the fourth quarter, they scored 41 points in the fourth quarter against one of the best defenses of the last 20 years or so. The idea that they were dominated or that Ant Edwards didn't deliver, I think that's flawed. What happened is when you play Oklahoma City, your margin for error is this. So in this situation, they had 23 turnovers. And it's not because they're stumbling around. Oklahoma City tries to take the ball from you. That's what they do. That's what they did in October. That's what they do in May. That's probably what they're going to try to do in June. And they give up 19 offensive rebounds. There was one point in this game, Rich, I think it was midway through the third quarter, where the Thunder had 23 more shot attempts than the Wolves. People are screaming about Shea's fouls. The Wolves take more free throws. It is the turnovers and the offensive rebounds, the old-fashioned possession game. I get to shoot more than you. Now, the Wolves did a really good job. By the end of the game, it was only 11. But still, against a team like Oklahoma City, you can't let them have double-digit more shots. You will not win. So basically, they need to stop turning it over. And I think specifically Julius Randle, who averaged 7 assists in the last round against the Warriors, he's averaging 3 assists in this round. And that is a big difference. It may not seem like that big of a difference, but those 4 or 5 baskets a game are so important because it means that Ant is not creating. And what's happening when Ant has the ball in his hands is that they're sending 2 and 3 bodies to him. They double teamed him 100% of the times he was going into the lane. Now, ideally, you get into more up-tempo and stuff, and you don't have to deal against the set defense. But when you're going up against 2 players every time you go in the lane, it's tough. He was kicking the ball out, and his shooters were making the shots. So having Julius Randle be more of a playmaker, and by the way, he had 5 turnovers in 1 basket. That's not going to get it done. Randle's assistance would really help them offensively.
So you saying the Timberwolves getting more free throws than Oklahoma City? I should cancel my tickets to the free throw merchant of Oklahoma City, Shakespeare in the Park? Brian, is that what you're saying? I should cancel that?
I'm learning. I learn every day. Earlier this round, Tyrese Halliburton taught me about aura farming, so I learned that, and I've now learned that calling somebody a free throw merchant is an insult. I mean, I agree. It's kind of it's you're mocking them, but like now people are using it like as an epithet, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna have to issue an apology for him saying the words. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, Shea tries to get fouls. Okay, he does many things extraordinarily well with the ball. He also is pretty good when he doesn't have the ball. One of the things he tries to do is get fouled. That's right. As thousands of basketball players were before and thousands after him, he tries to get fouled. And if you put your hand in the wrong position, he puts his arm there and gets fouled. That is not why the series is going the way it is. Try not handing or letting the Wolves or letting the Thunder take the ball from you and get a defensive rebound. By the way, the Wolves had a bunch of offensive rebounds themselves. It wasn't like, the Thunder are susceptible in that area too. But Shea is he gives you no margin for error. In fact, that's what I would just say about this Thunder team. You have to hit the level that you have to hit to beat them once is really high, which is why they won 68 games in the regular season and have been extremely tough to beat in the playoffs.
Before I let you go with your day, Brian, your colleague Shams Charania on Pat's show yesterday said he believes this is going to be one of the craziest off seasons ever once all the pieces from the NBA Finals and draft settle. Would you agree with that assessment, Brian?
I do. I think the conditions are right. How about that for being in Oklahoma? The conditions are right. I would say, blockbuster watch, and I'll say for two reasons. One, we're in an era where the salary cap has gone up very little in the last couple of years. So we've got a log jam with salaries. It's going to go up a lot in the next couple of years, but there's a little bit of a log jam with salaries. The salary growth has outpaced cap growth. The aprons are coming, so it's squeezing a bunch of teams. Not only that, a whole bunch of teams went all in over the last 3 or 4 years and were disappointed. And so those teams are trying to retrofit. There's financial pressures with the new rules forcing parity. And you've got some star players who may want to move. I don't know for sure whether Giannis does. Conditions are right for it. If he does, that's going to have a lot of fallout. After Giannis, I think you're going to have KD. Wherever he may go will cause a lot of fallout. And I know what people are going to say. Well, who? Give me the 11 players who are going to get traded. Let me just give you one example as I have to leave you.
Sure.
2 years ago, I could argue that the most impactful trade that happened in the NBA was when Drew Holiday became a Boston Celtic. If I told you on May 28th, 2023, that Drew Holiday was going to be a Boston Celtic, you would say, well, number one, the Celtics are going to win the title, which they did. Number two, you're going to say, well, how does Drew Holiday become a Boston Celtic? He plays for the Bucks. Why would the Bucks trade Drew Holiday to the Celtics? It would dramatically help a team that they're competing against for a championship. Well, Dame Lillard got traded to Milwaukee, and Drew Holiday ended up in Portland and on the market. And so this is why it's a little bit unpredictable, and I say the conditions are right. What I think you're going to see is some people and some assets and people move some places that could potentially trigger other deals that become fascinating. And I also think you've got a number of teams with their toes on the sidelines, not necessarily making calls right now, but when they see things, the conditions are right for them to move. So I also think, Rich, we're going to see this action around the draft. There's not a lot of free agent money out there. There's not a lot of big name free agents. The two biggest free agents are James Harden and LeBron. Both of them, I think, are staying with their teams. LeBron might not even opt out. And then you got Julius Randle and Miles Turner, who are guys who are still playing, but there's not a lot of cap space out there. So the action is going to be in and around the draft because people may use draft picks. Also, there's a handful of teams, some of them even high up in the draft. Like I would watch very closely Philly. I would watch very closely San Antonio at 2 and 3, where you may see those picks come into play. So Shams and I are getting ready to work very hard in and around the draft, not just in the first week of July.
Okay, I appreciate that. In 30 seconds here, if you'll indulge, your best call on Giannis, if he does go, it will be to a spot because they have the assets, or it'll be to a spot because he is personally asked to go to that spot.
We don't know.
That you don't know.
We don't know, but that's important. I would say this. There's a big difference about whether it's a bidding war or if it's the Bucks working with Giannis to get to a preferred destination. And the other thing I'm going to say, when you run to your trade machine and think you're going to outthink everybody, the Bucks do not control their first round draft pick for 5 years. What I mean by that is they've either traded the pick itself or they've traded the swap. So if you have the worse record, the other team can swap with you. So that means it doesn't behoove the Bucks to do a deal where they're in a rebuild unless they get their picks back, which are pretty much controlled by New Orleans. So unless there's a deal that involves the Pelicans handing the stuff back, if on the other side of the deal it's some sort of rebuild, I don't think Milwaukee's going to entertain it. So those are unknowns that as far as what Giannis or the Bucks may or may not want to do with that.
Brian, you're the best. Thanks for the time, man. Go to your next 15 gigs. Take care of yourself. We'll chat again soon.
Have a good day.
The great Brian Windhorst, our favorite right here. Off he goes.
Okay.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.